Hey, how you doing? Well, welcome to Midnight Rider Technology Studios. As always, under construction. But stuff's been moved around and things like that. You can actually tell there's been some progress. But part of today's job is not necessarily about Midnight Rider Technologies per se. It's actually about some of the events that I get involved in. The Great Plains Renaissance Festival and the Kansas Authors Pavilion. The Great Plains Renaissance Festival, as you might expect, is a Renaissance festival here in Wichita, Kansas. And it's held twice a year. And my involvement with it's mainly that I'm just the web guy. Now, that would be a real simple thing if it wasn't for events like these. Always have a little bit of chaos to them. Tonight's, for instance. Alright, 10 o'clock, time to shut off the online ticketing system. No problem. I log in, I hit one click, and the system locks me out. I'm actually very security conscious, possibly overly paranoid, but I've had sites be attacked before and actually compromised. So needless to say, I'm very, very cautious. Well, I got a little overly tight with the security. So go to time to turn the tickets off. It locks me out, and then I have to spend the next 30 minutes convincing it to let me back in by remotely going into the SQL server and editing the lockouts, and etc., etc. Fun stuff. This is always kind of how it goes. I'm not picking on the Renfest guys, but there's always just some chaos. For instance, the schedule. It's never done really on the time frame they'd like to have it done. So I'm always having to wait to the last minute, usually the last week, to end up putting up the schedule. Some of the graphics don't appear until well after ticketing has begun. All sorts of little things like that, and it's just always this crush of things that has to happen, but they don't necessarily happen on a nice smooth time frame. By the way, before I forget. I actually apparently have people showing up. Give me just a second here. Okay, this should work. There are two projects that are you ought to take a look at, and you'll notice both of them in the description in the video, which is May I Learn English, which is an English system for non-English speaking children who want to that have special needs like ADHD, autism, things like this. So it gives them a different chance to learn. And they're working on their Kickstarter right now, and give them a chance to check it out and all that good stuff. The other one to check out on Kickstarter is Tabby. Tabby cracks me up a little bit, and the reason why is that used to be when I was doing development on my iPad, I didn't have enough room in the office on my desk for everything I needed. So I used an old plate hanger to hang the iPad off the wall, so I didn't have to mess with it back and forth when I was doing development. Well, Tabby, somebody took the idea and they actually made it a real good project. You can tell that it's just to whatever size of iPad that you're dealing with, or, as you notice there, a Galaxy Tab 3. But you don't really want to buy one of those. I'm an iPad guy. Anyways, they excuse me, sorry. So anyways, check them out. They got a really cool idea there, and I forgot to close the overhead door. The reason why this is important that I forgot to close the overhead door is and the front door and the overhead door is that the dog is going to visit. Come here. Come on. The dog loves to be able to play outside while I'm working. So, yeah. Anyways, sorry about that. By the way, this is Bruno. And if you look in the background right there, you can see my 1982 Mercedes 300D Turbo Diesel, called Joker 2. Joker 2 because I already had one before called Joker. When I got this one, I scrapped the old one, and it became Joker 2. Anyways, it was a good joke in my head, personally, and some people liked the idea, but yeah. Anyways, so back on task here. But the other part of the Renfest I deal with is a side event that goes on inside of it called the Kansas Authors Pavilion. And it's a really simple concept that started maybe 5 years ago. Something like that. Yeah, there's a number of authors here in Kansas of various genres. So why not give them a way of meeting all the crowds that show up at the Renfest? There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people there, quite literally. I'm not exaggerating by any means. If you've never been to the Great Plains Renaissance Festival, it's quite a thing. There's quite a few people there. So, anyways, it's a pavilion that we set up. Originally, the Great Plains Renaissance Festival actually gave us a pavilion space. This huge, enormous space that was actually way too large for the number of people we had. Then one of the members actually, he was part of a church congregation, and they were getting rid of a 20-foot by 20-foot pavilion. So I purchased said pavilion a number of years back, and now we have our own little home there. They provide us the space for free, but on the other hand, the authors, for instance, don't pay anything to be in there. Whatever expenses that are dealt with for it just come out of my pocket. Not that it's real expensive. Usually it's upkeep on that tent. For instance, that 20-foot by 20-foot pavilion, nice blue and white top pavilion. It's ancient, but it works. There was no sides with it. So last fair, I had to build sides for it. Unfortunately, I didn't have the money to buy a bunch of canvas, so I bought some tarps and grommeted them and set up so that it worked, which was fortunate. That was the weekend it decided to rain the second day. Not only rain, it hailed like crazy for a while. So yeah, this year I modified it some more. The old stakes in the ground were 3/4 inch and 1 inch steel bars, about 3 foot long, and you drove these suckers as far in as you could with a sledgehammer. Well, there's 12 of these things to drive in. It kind of wastes you. And the problem is as the wind blows, it sits there and it rocks them a little bit. As the tent pulls on it, it starts sucking them out. So we had to modify it with something new. Last fair, I tried, just got 4 of them, little ground spiral things that you use for putting a dog on a yard leash. Bought 4 of those, tried it, worked really well. So this year we got 12 of them, 1 for every corner. I broke 2 of them, so we have 10 of them now instead of 12. And then new strapping system rather than the gigantic. I mean, all fairness, this thing is a battle tank of a pavilion. The ropes are like this, huge natural fiber ropes on most of it, and then some of them are polyfiber. Great, they're overkill, and they also don't really stick very well onto the bar stock that goes into the ground, or the metal that goes into the ground. So that had to be modified this time. Now, as a side note, I often have set this thing up myself. I shouldn't say often. 3 times I've set this thing up myself. It's really not that big of a deal. It takes a little time. Most people look at me like I'm nuts when I say I can do it, but really I can. Actually, I've done it more than 3 times. I've done it at least 5 times. So, it's always going to have helpful people at the Renfest. So this time when I was assembling it, some random stranger helped me, and then proceeded to tell me the whole time how I'd done everything wrong. Thanks. I haven't dealt with this tent before, not at all. Not for a number, let's see, the last 3 years, I think, 2.5 years I've had this tent that I've been putting it up. Yeah. So, always nice to have people that help out. Sometimes I just wish people would just help out. Um, and of course, there's always the coordinating with the authors to make sure that they can be there, who's going to be there, who's going to bring somebody to help out. Make sure if they're a new author that they know all the rules, because there are rules. Um, Things like that. There's always just a little bit of stuff that has to be done. And this year, I'm going to be throwing some new things at it. Sorry, I'm checking on the dog. Um, One, there's going to be a tip jar, which my placement and my setup for the tip jar will be kind of unique and interesting. Um, Tip jars have a habit, in high density crowds, tip jars have a habit of disappearing. That or somebody reaches in and they pilfer all the stuff that's in it. Alright, fine, I got a way of doing this. At about 5.5 foot on the main pole for the pavilion, is a jug about yay big, taped to it in green and silver. And the tips written on it, very easy to read. And then a screw on top with a hole that's good enough for you to just reach in, throw some change, or throw a couple of dollar bills in. But not big enough for you to reach your hands in. You can't steal it off the pole without being noticed because it's in the dead center of the place. All these little things. So my goal being, even if somebody's there and they don't have the money or they don't see something they're interested in, but they want to support the local authors, they still have a way of doing it. Because my goal is to help foster the growth of both these authors and of local authors in Kansas. It's authorship is not an easy thing, and just writing a book is not enough. That's not where it ends at. Excuse me. Instead, after you're done writing, now you got the whole part of marketing. You got the whole part of deciding what you're going to do next. Where do you market at? Everything else. So, along with these people meeting with the crowds, we all get together and we trade notes too. Because there's plenty of times where there's nobody in there. Now, over the years, my role has changed. See, I've got 3 books in print. The Story of Gamer Zone, which is a book on business. A horrible book. One of the worst books ever written. The horror game, which is a role-playing game based around 80s horror movies. Very fast, very simple system designed to allow you and your friends to sit down and you kill your friends as the GM. It's pretty fun. And then the Plastic Army game, which is a game played with little miniatures. Kind of like a tabletop miniatures game. So it used to be I was very interested in this, but the truth is I haven't had time to write anymore. So I've changed things a little bit, and part of my real focus there is to spend my time trying to get people in the door. What does it take to start talking people into coming and seeing the event? What does it take to get somebody to walk through the pavilion rather than walk on by to the next entertainment spot or to the next vendor? So the last couple of years, I go out front for a while and do the hey, do you read? Now, honestly, there's some people that say, no, I don't. All right. Are you literate? That's another one we do. Are you literate? They say no. They don't belong in the tent. So have some fun doing catcalling and getting them in the door. Shouldn't call it catcalling, actually. That's a whole different subject. So you get all these people going by. So this time I've got kind of a platform that I'm going to be working from off and on. Basically just walk out to the front of the tent, hop up on the platform, which is about 3 foot up. From there, suddenly I'm very visible. It's not just a matter of some random guy yelling. That guy is up there. What's that guy doing up there? In a kilt. Which, let me explain the dangers of being elevated with a kilt. There is probably going to at least once be problems. Now, unfortunately, I don't know. I'm not in very good shape this year. I got a pretty soft midsection. And, well, I'm kind of getting a little older. And, well, my arms aren't nearly as big as they used to be. So, all of these things, I'm probably not going to get harassed too badly. But I would be surprised if somebody didn't do the usual gig and try and look up my kilt or reach up my kilt. Simply because this time I'm elevated. because that's what people do. Um, that's fine. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. I just have to stop them. It's not like they're going to overpower me. Though I did have once when it was 3 college girls doing it all at once. That was a little more interesting. So we'll see how that goes. And then the last thing is, the video blog is actually going to be shot at the Renfest. I'm going to take my iPod and my iPad and my iPhone with me, and I'm going to do some video here and there, and do some neat stuff while I'm at it. I might do a little bit of time lapse, just for the hell of it, and then see how it goes. And I'm going to actually try. I've never tried this before. I'm going to try using iMovie on the iPhone and the iPad to construct the blog. And when I get back to the house, where I've got some bandwidth, upload it, and we'll see how it goes. And I don't really know how well it's going to work. We'll find out. Because here I've got a fairly controlled environment, controlled amount of sound, a controlled amount of light. There, not so much. But the other advantage is that means I'm going to have a moment where I can talk to the crowds and get them in on the blog, where I can tell people to check this, that, or the other out. And also, I'm going to be shooting kind of, I'll loosely call it a trailer for the next Kansas Authors Pavilion by introducing some of the authors that are there and showing people what it is that we do. So it's kind of a cool set of tricks to see if I can drum up more interest for it for the next time around. Since I have the video blog, I've got the equipment, I've got all the stuff that I'm doing, why not? It was a great idea of how to, I don't know, leverage the stuff that I'm doing, which I've been trying to do anyways. So anyways, but also this means that, one, you'll notice that this was not nearly as late as I usually shoot these, because I really have to go to bed now. I've got to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm already tired. And I'm going to be out in the sun and fun and talking to people and shaking hands and telling them about the horror game whenever they go over to my table or what have you, all day. And then I got to do it again on Sunday. It's not a horrible thing by any means, but it does start to wear on you after a couple hours. Fortunately, I'm bringing plenty of food and plenty of water to stay hydrated. And, well, pretty much I've been prepped for this every year, so I kind of know what I'm doing by this point. Kind of. I'm sure I'll forget something. I always do. So, if you get a chance and you're in Wichita, stop by. Love to have you come in and just at least say hi on the blog, just for the heck of it. Doesn't serve a real purpose. I don't know why this sounds like fun, but it does to me. But stop in, say hi, check on the blog, get your picture on with me, and we'll be on YouTube the next day. So, anyways, I hope you can join me. And if you're joining me remotely, well, I hope you can tune in, because I probably upload it a lot earlier than I normally do. So you'll get to hopefully get an idea and a feel what we do up there. So, anyways, let's find the exit button. All right, I still haven't fixed all the audio. I didn't have time to work on it tonight, so I'm gonna hit this button, and it's really cheesy because it's actually playing on my computer speakers. Then picked up my microphone, and then transmitted to YouTube. Not exactly what I'd call high tech, but without further ado, here it is.